Trey Hendrickson has reported to Bengals Training Camp. Quick thoughts on this. We filmed the full video late yesterday, then this news dropped, so wanted to kind of throw this on the front of it, so stay tuned for the rest of the show. But Hendrickson, ending his hold out, has reported to camp, but he's still not practicing. So essentially, this is now a hold in to avoid fines, because you can get fined $50,000 per day when you are not present during training camp. So that is what he has chosen to do. Now, is this a sign that they're closer to a deal? Well, Tom Pelissero reported this, that he's planning to end that holdout, which we just talked about. But he also added that while it seems unlikely that he'll practice without a new deal, talks are continuing and he'll be back in the building. And you would think that there's at least some level of comfortability from Trey Hendrickson and his camp. Like, okay, maybe we're not super close, but I want to avoid fines. And also, ultimately, this is the team I'm going to be playing for this year. I'll say this. I think any thought of a trade before the season is dead. Now, could there be a midseason trade or something like that? Possibly, but it at least feels like there's some momentum toward a deal. Adam Schefter the other day reported that the Bengals have offered the first full year fully guaranteed and part of the second year. Maybe the compromise ends up being he gets 2 fully guaranteed years instead of 3, like Max Crosby and some of the other guys got, but we'll have to wait and see. But Trey Hendrickson back at Bengals training camp. Want to get you caught up on that. Coming up next, we have some more training camp news and notes, the latest on Micah Parsons. Jimmy Haslam, the Browns owner, had some interesting comments as well when it comes to Shadeur Sanders and Arch Manning. So we'll react to all of that coming up here on Verts. Are things going south between Micah Parsons and the Dallas Cowboys? That's where we kick off today's episode of Verts. My name is Harrison Graham. Adam Schefter reported on his podcast that a deal between Micah and Dallas is further away now than it was all the way back in March. Here's what he said on his show. He said, right now we're nowhere regarding Parsons and Dallas. I would say right now we're further away from a deal in late July, early August than we were in late March or early April. The two sides have gone backwards, not forwards. I don't think they're speaking much these days, if at all. There was communication in late March and early April when Jerry Jones and Micah Parsons were sitting down and discussing a deal and making progress toward getting a deal done, but this negotiation has gone sideways. It's not a negotiation right now. There's really no conversation on getting a deal done. That could change in the next week or closer to the season. We've seen how long Dallas sometimes wait on some of these deals, but this sounds different to me. It sounds a little more personal from both sides. And look, Jerry Jones has proven time and time again, he's pretty bad at handling these contracts. He goes public, he says something stupid, and then in the end, he bites the bullet at the last second and pays, and he ends up paying more than anyone else because all other players several other players at that same position get paid earlier in the offseason, and he ends up paying top dollar. We saw it with Dak Prescott, who he overpaid and gave $60 million to. By the way, this offseason, Josh Allen agreed to an extension at $55 million per year. Saw it with CeeDee Lamb, where, you know, in the grand scheme of things, $34 million per year isn't that bad. Had he done it earlier, though, probably could have got him around 28 to 30. We saw it the first time Dak got extended. Waited too long. Eagles extended Carson Wentz, ended up having to pay more than Carson Wentz. Now, he's better than Carson Wentz, but you could have had him for less money than Carson Wentz. Like, Jerry and the Cowboys just do not handle this well. They're not very good at the timing of it or at the communication of it whatsoever. And it's happening again with Micah, because what has happened this offseason? Max Crosby gets an extension, $35.5 million per year. That kind of set the new standard. Danielle Hunter got a 1-year extension at that number as well. And then Myles Garrett gets 40, TJ Watt gets 41. And sure, you could say Myles Garrett's better than Micah Parsons, TJ Watt's better than Micah Parsons, but Micah Parsons is 4 years younger than Myles Garrett. He's 4 years younger than TJ Watt. So he's probably going to get at least 40, if not closer to $45 million, where if you were proactive, really what you should have done is paid him last offseason because he was extension eligible then, but you made him play out his 4th year. Now he's set to play on his 5th-year option. Like, you're not sold on Micah Parsons, at this point in time. Like, I just do not understand. I'm not saying he's the perfect player. I'm not saying, you're winning rings with this guy yet or anything, but like, this is not a guy you let out of your building. He's in the class of player where you do not mess around. And what have they done? They've messed around. Jerry Jones also said this recently. He was asked about the pay Micah chants that were coming from Cowboys fans at Cowboys Training Camp. He said, I heard it light, but not compared to how I heard them say pay Lamb, talking about CD last year. That was a faint little sound compared to the way they were hollering last year, pay Lamb. It's like, what are you trying to gain with that comment? You think that's going to convince Micah and his agents, like, well, the fan base likes CeeDee Lamb more, so you should take less money. Like, what do you gain out of that? And that's always my question, my thought. When players talk, when GMs talk, when you see these negotiations happen, like, when you speak, the things you say, you better have something to gain, or you shouldn't say anything at all. Like, I look at Washington. When Dan Quinn and Adam Peters talk about Terry McLaurin, they rave about the guy. He is a Class A guy in our building, team first guy. We love Terry. We're hoping to work something out soon. Jerry Jones, I don't really hear the pay Micah chants. They're kind of quiet. Micah missed 6 games last year when he's only missed 5 in his career. It's just like, he's bad at trying to control the message. He takes too long on trying to extend these guys. He throws out weird comments of like, we'd rather wait and overpay than not pay at all. It's like, okay, I get that for a B-level player, even like a Dak Prescott, who's a good, not a great quarterback. I don't really get that with Micah Parsons. Like, this is one of the best players in the league at a key position. There's just no reason to operate like this. He's a dominant pass rusher who's very durable and is still an ascending player. And despite all of these antics, by the way, from Jerry and Steven and Dallas, he is still at training camp. He's still reported, and he's involved. I do not understand. And then Stephen Jones, Jerry's son, the heir apparent, said, we want to pay Micah too. He's got to want to be paid too. Like, what does that mean? Oh, he's got to want to be paid. Yeah, you don't think he wants to be paid? I think it's some kind of backhanded comment of like, he's being unreasonable. It's like, well, is he? You should have paid him last year, still reported. Should have paid him already now, still reported. He's currently on a 5th-year option. Like, if this guy was playing for 25, 26 other organizations, he would have been paid by now. Cincinnati and a couple others might still be playing hardball because they're historically cheap. But other than that, like, he's a no-doubt player. He's a no-doubt player. When you have 53 sacks or whatever it is in 4 seasons, you're one of the best players in the league. So that comment made no sense whatsoever. I don't get it, because in the end, we know what's going to happen. They're going to pay him. But, like, why even go through this song and dance? You're bent over a barrel. You either pay him or you trade him for a haul. But even if you want to trade him, these comments are kind of just unnecessary. They don't get you anything. And Micah's not going to all of a sudden take $5 million less per year because you said the chance for CeeDee Lamb were louder. It's just not going to happen. So it's hard to respect how Jerry and Dallas operates, but in the end, I do think they'll get a deal done. Will the Cowboys pay Micah before week 1? Type Y for yes, type in for no. I think they will. I do think it's a little bit notable that Adam Schefter said that this one feels different. But I just don't think the Cowboys have any choice, and they're going to end up paying top dollar. All right, so recently we gave some shout-outs to some new subscribers. I saw a couple of comments like, hey, why not shout out some of the longtime subscribers? So did some digging on the channel and was able to find the first 10 subscribers to the channel. And here they are. And I hope a lot of you guys are still watching. I've seen a couple of you guys in the comments. Van Helsing, 8900, Ed Yeargain. We got Sean Bonner as well. My Violent Tendencies, Gibson, Ibn Xavier, Nick Hawkes, Tyler Nipper. We got Simon Christoph as well. We appreciate you guys so much for tuning in to Verts and to subscribing to the channel. And for anyone else who's been subscribed for a year now, since we launched the channel just over a year ago, or a day, we appreciate you. And we're publishing daily NFL and college football content. So if you want to join us, get some shout outs from time to time, and just big fan of the NFL, hit that subscribe button. All right, Jimmy Haslam, certainly interesting figure as well, the Browns owner, talked about some quarterbacks today at Browns training camp, or I say today, on Tuesday, about Shadeur Sanders, how that draft pick went down. Also was asked about Arch Manning, which was interesting. Here's what Jimmy had to say. He said, at the end of the day, that's Andrew Berry's call. Andrew made the call to pick Shadeur, just like who's going to start or what play are we going to call is Kevin Stefanski's call. Andrew made the call. I did a full video about this at the time, and I just can't get over this picture. I understand it's a freeze frame. I'm not saying it tells the whole story, but until Andrew Berry comes out and just definitively says this was my pick and my alone, I'm sorry. At minimum, Jimmy Haslam had influence. I'm just skeptical of that comment because we've seen this before. He drafted Johnny Manziel. He drafted Baker Mayfield, who, was starting to play well there and obviously is very good now. He gave Deshaun Watson $230 million guaranteed. Like, this is a guy who loves the headline and has made bold moves before. You're not going to convince me until proven otherwise that this was not a Jimmy Haslam influence pick, if not just a Jimmy Haslam pick in its own entity. So, because it just doesn't make sense. Why would you draft Dillon Gabriel in the third round if you're Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski, and then wake up on day 3, Shadeur's still available in the 5th, and be like, you know what, let's just take him. Teams don't do that. And Andrew Berry, I think, is a pretty smart guy, and so was Kevin Stefanski. I'm not saying they had 0% on the pie chart in terms of wanting to draft Shadeur, but I still think this was heavily influenced by Jimmy Haslam due to Shadeur sliding and the popularity that comes with it, the intention on the team. You're not going to convince me that the owner did not want Andrew Berry to draft Shadeur Sanders. Now, maybe he, strongly recommended it, and Andrew Berry just kind of bit his tongue and did it, and ultimately it was his final call. But at minimum, there were conversations. I feel pretty confident in that. Now, he was asked about Arch Manning recently. Remember Colin Cowherd's kind of idea of Arch and Nick Saban to Cleveland. We talked about it on this show, and he said this when it comes to Arch Manning. He said, if you know the Manning family, and I don't know Arch at all, I'd bet he stays in college for 2 years. I don't think that's worth discussing. This I agree with, and because it's pretty well documented, people in the know have said this, Arch Manning plays to start for Texas for the next 2 years and then go pro. Why? Because the Manning family knows that there's a long history of guys who are only 1-year starters in college do not perform well in the NFL. It's well documented. You need a lot of college reps. Arch has only started 2 games up to this point. Now, he's played, in like 10 games, as a runner, mop-up duty, etc. But I would expect Arch to stay at Texas for 2 more years. The only exception is if he has this huge year, is at least a Heisman finalist, if not wins the Heisman, and leads Texas to a national championship and is the bona fide number 1 pick. Would he maybe consider going in that scenario? Sure. But anything short of that, he's going to go back to Texas. And even if he does all that, he still might go back. Why? Because Texas is going to pay him a shitload. They're already paying him a lot. Like, money's not the issue. It's about the long-term vision and getting these valuable reps at the college level before going pro. He's got 2 uncles who played a lot of college ball before going pro, and they obviously had a lot of success. So I do believe Haslam when it comes to that. Now, if he did go pro, would he be intrigued? I think Jimmy Haslam would, but until that comes to fruition, I actually do think that talking about Arch and the Browns for next year is mostly meaningless because it's just such a long shot. Now, let's talk about the current QB situation in Cleveland, as they have 4 quarterbacks, and we've said all along, probably not going to carry 4 quarterbacks. Now, they recently, I think Andrew Berry said there's a scenario where they would keep 4, but that's just not very practical. A report recently saying that the Browns are likely to cut or trade one of their 4 quarterbacks before they get to week 1. So, obviously, you got 2 veterans, Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett. Obviously, Pickett a much younger vet, but compared to rookies Dillon Gabriel and Shadeur Sanders, I think it'll be one of 2 people not on this roster. Kenny Pickett or Shadeur Sanders. I guess if they cut Shadeur, then maybe that would be some kind of validation that Jimmy Haslam didn't make that pick, so we'll see if that happens. But I feel pretty confident that Joe Flacco is going to be on this team and is going to start week 1, and they took Dillon Gabriel in the 3rd round, so they're not going to cut or trade him. The only scenario where that would happen is if Shadeur far outperforms him, and they could trade him for a similar package, but no team is going to trade even a 4th-round pick for Gabriel, so he's not going anywhere. I think in the end, if I had to guess, Kenny Pickett's off this team. The only way he's not is if he beats out Joe Flacco and starts week 1. If he does that, then maybe Flacco would be the odd man out, but I still think Gabriel's a lock. I still would guess Shadeur is on this team as well, and then one of the 2 vets makes the team and starts, and I just think that's more likely to be Joe Flacco at this point in time. Who do you guys think is going to be the odd man out in Cleveland? If you think it's Flacco, type JF. You think it's Gabriel, type DG. Kenny Pickett, type KP. Or if you think it's Shadeur Sanders, type SS. I think it's going to be Kenny Pickett. We've seen enough of him. There's not a high ceiling there. I don't view that as the next Sam Darnold or Geno Smith or Baker Mayfield situation. I think Flacco starts week 1 and the 2 rookies make the roster. All right, that's going to do it for today's edition of 4 Verts. If you want more coverage throughout NFL training camps, be sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications as well, and we'll see you next time.